Good morning, everybody. Olderback here with a new video. Sometimes Delta Math doesn't have a video for the assignment, and if that's the case, I will be creating a short one, which is what I'm doing here. So this video is for these three assignments, uh, estimating angles, rotating small angles, and rotating large angles. This is the first part of concept 34. If you haven't finished concept 33, go back and do that one first. So let's get started. Before I go over an example, I just want to talk about where we're going and where we were coming from. So concept 33 was about um, right triangles, right? That's where we talked about, if you have an angle, like here's our angle right here, right? This would be the opposite side, this would be the adjacent side, and this is the hypotenuse side, and we talked about SOHCAHTOA, all that kind of stuff, right? And hopefully that was a review from geometry. And so we're going to move beyond that now. So in Algebra 2, we move away from a right triangle or angles that are only 90 degrees or less into angles that can be bigger than 90 degrees. And to do that, we look at a circle. And you've probably heard of this before, a unit circle. This circle right here is a unit circle because the radius of it is 1 unit long, right? So you can see that by the coordinates 1, 0, right? The radius from the origin out is 1 unit. But anyways, what we're going to be doing first is just trying to estimate what an angle is. So if I say 325 degrees, can you figure out where that is, right? So this is one of those things that you should be able to do pretty quickly, make everything going forward a little bit easier. So to start, we just need to remember what all the major angles are. So this angle right here, right, is where we usually start. This would be 0 degrees right here. If we go to the y-axis, the positive y-axis, that would be a 90-degree angle, right? If we go 90 more degrees, so to that negative x-axis over here, it would be 180 degrees. Okay, so that right there would be 180 degrees. Try to change colors. We go all the way down to the negative y-axis. This would be 270 degrees. And then if we go all the way around the circle, back to where we started, we get back to 360. All right, and so what we're going to start with is just simply thinking about where those angles are on a unit circle. Okay, so here we go. First example. This is for estimating angle measurements. They're going to give you an angle, and you have to figure out the rotation within 10 degrees. Okay, so you're not going to be exact, but you need to be within 10 degrees. So here's the first one. So, here is 90 degrees right there. All right. So, and here is 180. All right. And so we need to be somewhere in between there. So we know our answer is somewhere between 90 and 180. A good way, and I think the way they show it on Delta Math, is they break each quadrant into 3 parts and they go up by 30 degrees. So that would be 30 degrees. This would be 60 degrees. You go break this quadrant up into 2. That would be 120 degrees, right? 30 plus 90. You go 30 more, you get 150. And then all the way down to 180. And so here you can kind of estimate now, it's a little bit closer. It's somewhere between 120 and 150. So maybe you say that angle right there is 140 degrees. Okay. And again, you just have to be within 10 degrees of the actual angle. All right. And so I think breaking it up by these 30-degree increments is a good way to estimate that. Okay, let's try another one here. Let's go to the next one. So this one is all the way around. So again, this is 90, 180, 270, and then back around is 360. So again, to start, we know it's between 270 and 360. If I break this quadrant up into 2 to 3 sections, 3 pieces, by 30 degrees, this would be 270 and 300, right? 300 more would be 330, 330, and then all the way around would be 360. So you can see this is kind of close to 330. It's a little bit more. So a little bit more than 330 would be maybe 340 degrees. All right. And that should be good enough right there. All right. Let's look at one more here. Again, we got 90, we got 180, right? 270. So our angle is somewhere between 180 and 270. All right. Again, if I break it up into 30-degree increments, I would get 210, 240. All right. And so it's somewhere between 180 and 210 now, you can see. And again, it's a little bit past 180. I would just go and say that's 10 degrees past 180 and it's 190. All right. And that's all you type in. Again, this is just estimating. You need to do a bunch of these. They should be quick, but just got to get within 10 degrees. Okay, so that's the first assignment. Second assignment is rotating small angles. So small angles meaning all these angles will be less than 360 degrees. So for this problem, they're going to give you the angle, and you have to drag this point right here around the circle to create a 121 degree angle. Okay, so again, 121. Well, here's 90 up here, so it's got to be past that. Here's 180, so it's got to be less than that. Again, if I break this up into 30-degree increments, 30 degrees past 90 is 120, 120. And then right here would be roughly, another 30 degrees would be 150. And so again, we're trying to get to 121. So 121 would be just past that right there. So what I would do is I would drag this all the way around to there. And when I do that, you would also drag an angle. It would drag a line that's like that. And that angle right there is 121 degrees, or roughly. Okay, let's look at another one. So here we got a negative angle. All a negative angle means is that we're rotating clockwise instead of counterclockwise. So normally we rotate an angle in that direction, which is counterclockwise, right? If I want to rotate an angle in a negative direction, I rotate it the other direction, which would be counterclockwise, or clockwise, I mean. So it would be in that direction. So again, that right there is in a clockwise direction would be a negative angle. So let's do that. So let me erase these. So if I start the angle going this direction, this right here, down here would be now negative 90 degrees, right? This over here would be negative 180 degrees, right? This up here would be negative 270 degrees. And if I get all the way back around to here, I would get back to negative 360 degrees. Okay, so let me erase this. I need to get to negative 170. So again, I know I'm going to be somewhere in between, somewhere in quadrant 3 right here. This is quadrant 3, like quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 4. All right. So I'll be somewhere in quadrant 3. And if I break this into the 30-degree increments, 30 degrees left of negative 90 would be negative 120. 30 degrees more would be negative 150. So I'm somewhere in this upper spot right here, a little closer to the 180 than the 150. So maybe I put my dot right there, and I would drag this angle in this direction, in the clockwise direction, till I get to there. Okay, and that right there should be my angle. And again, you don't have to be within 10 degrees. We'll get one more. Negative 281. All right, negative 281 would be, again, in the clockwise direction, be going down to start. So negative 90, negative 180, negative 270, negative 360. So I'm going to be in quadrant 1, right, up in that top right corner, the positive, right, and I need to get to 281. So again, if I break the angles into 30-degree increments in that quadrant, I would be at negative 300 and negative 330. All right. So I need to be close to 280. So 281 is closer to 270 than it is to 300. So I'm going to be a little bit closer to the right there to the 270. So I'm going to say that right there would be my angle. And so I would drag this yellow dot in a clockwise direction until it created that angle there. Okay. All right. The last one is just rotating large angles. Now, the difference here is these angles will be larger than 360. So what happens when you rotate an angle larger than 360, you just keep going around the circle. So if I go around this circle in a positive direction, which would be a counterclockwise direction, and I go around it one time around, that's 360 degrees. So if I started with 806 and I went around 360 degrees, all right, I would get back to where I started. And all I'd be left with is, if you do that subtraction, is 446 degrees. All right, so now I have another 446 degrees. So what I'm going to do, go around that circle one more time. So I would drag it one more time. All right, so I went around another 360 degrees. All right, and if I do that, I'm left with 86 degrees. All right, and so I've gone around the circle twice for a total of 720 degrees, or 360 degrees twice. And now all I have left to do is go 86 degrees. Well, we should hopefully be able to do that now. So 86 degrees, here's 0, here's 90. 86 is really close to 90, but it's a little bit less, so maybe right about there. And so I would drag this angle around twice, all right, and then I would, on the third time, when I start the third rotation, all right, I would get to there. So let me see if I can kind of erase these. So you would draw 1, 2, and then 3 to 86 degrees. And so that would be roughly 86 up there. Okay. Let's try another one. So negative 604. So negative 604 degrees. So again, we're in a negative direction, so we're going in a clockwise direction. All right. If I go around negative 360 degrees, so if I do one negative 360 degrees, I'll go all the way around once. That's negative 360. All right. If I do that, if I take away 360, I'm going to do a positive, doing the opposite of negative 604. I'm left with negative 244. That number is less than 360, so now I just need to figure out where that'll be. So negative 244, right? I got negative 90s down here, negative 180s up here, negative 270s up here. So it's somewhere in between, in this second quadrant right here. And break that up into 30-degree increments. I get negative 210, negative 240. So 244 would just be a little bit past that 240 mark right there. So I would, if I do this all from the beginning, I'll do it in red. Go around once, that's 360. I got to go 244 more, so I drag it, keep dragging it until I get to about right there. And that angle right there is a negative 200 or negative 604 degree angle. Okay, hopefully this helps. Again, if it doesn't, I'm sorry. YouTube something or send me an email, and I'll do my best to clear up any questions. All right, try those 3 problems or 3 assignments in Delta Math, and then after that, move on to the next one.